Hello, everybody. It is July 20th in the year 2023. This is the voice of Agrode, founder and CEO of Splinterlands, and also the sweet, sweet soccer game of Genesis League Goals. And I'm here with a couple people that are going to be talking to us today about kind of the goals development, where we're at, what we're doing, and what's going on with this whole thing. So let me start off by having the team just kind of introduce themselves. So Chicklet, if you could say a quick hello and kind of describe who you are and what you're doing.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who haven't been introduced to me already, Chicklet, aka Alicia, heading up product here, but specifically focused on the GLS product and goals. So I'm super excited to be working on this.
Awesome. Now, a lot of you guys probably know Chatter because he's leading up all the marketing for Splinterlands as well, and likely you guys have heard of him. But Chatter, can you give us a quick introduction and who you are and what you do?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm Chatter. Sure, most of you have seen me in the Discord, but I am the director of growth for GLG, really aligning a lot of our marketing efforts and just kind of making sure that we get the word of our game out there to the people.
Rock on. And then we got Z416175. Z, you want to come say hello and tell us who you are and what you do around here?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, a lot of people just refer to me as Z. It's a little easier. There's a good story for that tag though, but we'll get to that sometime.
I should also share for anybody that's Canadian that Z is also Z, in case you're confused about that. Just wanted to throw that out there. So Z, or if you're an American, Z, please go on.
So I am a software engineer on the team. I'm working on Genesis League Goals. I'm also a lifelong soccer player, soccer fan. I was a licensed ref for many years. Now I'm a licensed coach, and I am the vice president of my local soccer club. So really excited about this.
Yeah, it's good to have some people that are on the team that are like pretty into this. I feel like that helps across all these different games as we have to make design decisions and different choices along the way. So Chicklet, you're ahead of the product. You know, we had some changes in personnel that happened at the end of last year. We've been functioning as a team, and there's some questions just about like, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Are things actually happening? Like before we get into even like roadmap or just anything else, do you want to kind of give us a status of what is goals? What are we doing? And what stuff in general is in progress?
So what is goals, right? We're focusing on a strategy card soccer game or football. And we are, as a team, working closely, more strategically on the development and progress going forward for what are some of the features. You know, we have our pack sale out there already. What are some features that we can add to pack sale that will help to enhance that experience? We want to try to, get some eye candy out to you guys. So behind the scenes, we're working through design and have come pretty far with the design of the cards. We have a lot to work through when it comes to the UI of the actual gameplay. But we have, where we are so far, I'm really excited to see it evolve and become more. The more and more, like we talk about this, especially with Z and other people on the team, it's blossoming into something that it exceeds my expectations and where we had started. So again, from the development standpoint, we are a lot more focused now as a team, have been coming together, talking about what we need to do, where we can add features that will bring the most impact and the best user experience through iterative releases.
So all of that sounds like things are actually in progress. Is that a fair statement? Do you feel like things are stalled and nothing's going to happen with goals over the next 10 years because of the bear market? Or do you feel like, we're actually making progress on this game and things are getting made, things are getting produced, and we'll get images, eye candy, and gameplay out there?
For sure. Yeah, things are definitely moving. Like I said, I think because we have been able to take a bit of a pause a few weeks ago and put some focus on where we're going and what we need to produce. It's enabling us to move a little bit faster. So things are definitely in the works. And moving along, and we should continue from this point on to see things at a really good cadence coming out.
Okay, so just before we get in, do you want to describe sort of like any of the process that we use or the team that we have, or like how are we actually making the sausage? I know I want to share like a product roadmap today. I want to share like our first glimpse of gameplay today. I want to share some of our eye candy today. And I plan to get to all those things, but before we do that, I just want to get a sense of like, what is the team, who's working on this, and how are we actually going to develop this thing?
So we have our team of engineers, Z being one of them. We also have Dante, who I can't recall if he's been on a town hall, but he unfortunately couldn't make it today, but will definitely be appearing in the future as our lead engineers here. We have a few other engineers that are helping out with the back end, but definitely when it comes to game design and all of those features, I'm working closely with Z and Dante as we go back and forth. Of course, like Z had shared, he has a ton of experience with soccer. So we're using him as like one of our, I call them SMEs, subject matter experts to help guide us along the way. Chatter's also been really awesome at like providing his knowledge and experience there as well. And then as far as the art team or creative team, we have a really, really talented artist who is working with myself through all of the UI and the artwork. And of course, we love to tap into Nate's wealth of experience as he has created Splinterland. So using his experience and expertise as, as we build this out and, value his feedback as well.
And then so it sounds like we have a team, we have some art, we have some marketing, we have some developers, we have some product people, we have some Scrum too. We didn't mention a little bit of Scrum in there too, but it sounds like we have a whole team. And then like the processes, I've kind of set this up, we have a bi-weekly sprint, you do sprint planning at the beginning. We do some execution where we're finding our objectives along the way. We're trying to figure out exactly what needs to be built. And then we actually sit down and we build it for a week or two. And then we go through kind of like a show and tell event before these things go live. And we just kind of like walk through what products we've made, what they look like, get feedback from all the team members. That's kind of how I set it up. Does it feel like it's running that way? Is that the cadence? Is that how we're operating?
Absolutely. Yeah. And because we're in these teams, I like to think of them as close-knit teams, especially this team. We've been working together for a while. We're able to collaborate on the daily and move a lot quicker through the iterations, the design process, the decisions that we need to make when we have something that we need to talk about or discuss as a team, or even at the stakeholder level. We're able to do that quickly. So I think that is enabling us to be more efficient. And as well as, we have the 2-week cadence where we have our planning and we have our demos. So we're getting eyes on what we're designing, what we're developing frequently. So it's not, we have the constant feedback loop so we can make those improvements. And again, just continue to move more efficiently.
Sweet. So I think, do you want to go product roadmap first, or do you want to do some of the visuals first? What do you feel like doing? Do you have a preference?
We can head on the product roadmap quickly.
Okay. Yeah. I think it makes sense to kind of talk through product roadmaps and just kind of like talk about what are the next objectives? What are we trying to build? What is that supposed to look like? What are some of the timings? That's the number one question I get in all things of this job. When X, when Y, when Z, You know, why isn't it now? Sometimes it's like, where is Chatter's beard? Sometimes it's like, why is he 6 feet tall? But generally speaking, it's really around these questions of, when is this next feature coming out? When do I get to do X?
Right.
So if you have that roadmap, I know Ron's putting it up, but can you also, there we go, get it into the chat here.
Thanks, Chad.
So, so this thing, you want to talk through this and just kind of like, what is live now? What do we think is going live this quarter? What are we shooting for next quarter?
Yep.
And then what's coming out later beyond that? And, you know, I'll at some point try to describe some of your confidence level in like what we're doing and what you think we'll be able to get out of here.
Yep. So right now, currently, I mean, we have our pack site sale that's out there. We have pack staking for GLX. We are, as we're approaching the end of pre-sale 1, we're prepping for pre-sale 2. And with pre-sale 2, we'll be offering the different payment types. So GLGT will be offered during that. So right now, on the roadmap, we are working towards some of the payment in shop enhancements. We're working toward adding credits to that and then being able to use GLGT for purchases. Then we're aiming to improve many of the other user experiences, one of which is onboarding new users into the experience by offering starter packs, which we're going to call franchise license. Then, as we see in the minting, we're working on finalizing the card designs, which will allow us to get to the pack opening. So pack opening is part of this too. Then to support the pack opening and the user experience after the opening, we're working toward collection and team management experiences, and then eventually getting the marketplace live within Q1. Past that, we are looking at April-ish beta game launch. And then we'll move into pre-sale 2 ending, the general sale, and then game launch later in Q2.
So that's roughly the timeline that we've been talking about. Maybe it's a little bit pushback from original, but you know, at least for the last couple months, I don't see this as like a major departure from where we were in December. This seems like it's still mostly along the same path. And so what do you think that players can expect next? Like, you know, I know we have some credit pieces that are going into the site here shortly. But that's not quite like soccer enough, right? Like that's still kind of like back end hardcore, like platform table stakes kind of stuff. When do I start seeing like athletes, or when do I start seeing ways for me to assemble a team, equip different things, play my characters? Like when does it really become like a something that I as a player can wrap my hands around and give the community some way to engage as we are waiting, or as the community is waiting to get to gameplay, right? So that's why we're hoping we're setting our sights for Q1. Like I said, after pack opening, pack opening should be excited. You get to see your cards, you get to experience that whole like opening, and we're going to add in, like I said, your collection management, but not just collection management, but your team management. So the design of that would look like you're able to build a few different teams or create a few different teams to work with. Maybe similar to So Rare, like how you have your game manager, right? You're a game manager, you have a few teams, and then you can enter into matches with your selected team. So you're able to build them up, you can edit them as you go forward. And then with that, of course, then the marketplace. And I think that will give the community that interaction with each other where you can go buy and sell. Okay. Chatter, are there things that you'd like to pull attention to for this roadmap and things that you're particularly excited about or you think will be a draw to players, or what's the next big milestone that's in your brain?
Yeah, there's a couple different side of things there. I know it's not necessarily mentioned on that roadmap specifically, but we've been looking at trying to get the beta out. So I know we'll have a little screen share of what a kind of preliminary gameplay kind of scenario will look like on the back end. So just really excited to try and get my hands on that, get play testing going with our community, and getting everything going there. But also really excited for a lot of, I know, kind of guild talk and everything else is being talked about in the chat right now, but how our communities can really figure out how to get their hands on the game, but also interact in a kind of more holistic sense to whether it's the gameplay, whether it's the economy, or kind of how we can enable everyone to help be voices of the game and push it itself too, from a more selfish marketing standpoint as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Z? What do you see as like the next milestone that you're the most excited about, and just what's keeping your attention as you're cranking this thing out?
Yeah, sure. So we just worked through card stats, right? And so figuring out, how we're calculating the stats for each player, and I think we ended up with something really cool, really good. And so like now I'm super excited for pack opening, just to open up packs and see what players I get, and then the team management functionality is going to be really cool to me. Trying to piece together, teams that can like strategically kind of swap players in and out, and um, kind of like just playing with that, getting ready for the game, um, and then yeah, working on the game. I mean, the game is like super exciting to me at this moment. So
Rock on. I guess I think that's an okay place to kind of dive next from the roadmap to looking more at something like some of the first art and the first kind of eye candy coming out here. So can we put up some eye candy and kind of talk through what we're building, what we're thinking, and this starts getting into some of those stats. So maybe we can talk about what the players are seeing on the screen, and what that might blossom into.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to share some of this eye candy, the card designs with everyone here. We want to put it up to a vote to see what everyone here thinks. So I'm going to thank you, Chatter. He has posted that in the chat. So there's column A and column B. Similar, there's some minor details, maybe not so minor details in difference between them, but we'd love to see what you all think and take any feedback that you have. User testing, getting your feedback is super important to us.
Yeah, you guys are literally going to impact what these cards will look like in the game that you are purchasing assets in. Welcome to Web3, fellas. You guys get to have a say. It seems like there's a strong preference towards A. So can you kind of talk through there's like a lot of stuff on this card. So can you talk through what's on it? What are what's the star? What's FW? And so on.
So the star is the stars that you need when you're combining cards to get to the, to level up your cards, so that the number next to it will change as, with the number of stars that you have. FW for this particular one means forward. So there will be initials there. GK for goalkeeper, FW for forward, MD for midfield, and are we just doing B? I think B for or DF for defender. We have thank you, the player's name, and then you see that there are 6 stats on the front here, and these are what Z was just talking about when we took a look at the player's stats and creating those. So PA would be passing, SH is shooting, DR is dribble, IN is intercepting, BL is block, and then TA is tackle. So you have your offensive and defensive hard stats aligned to each of the players.
Now, you just said something about this being the front of a card.
Yep.
That almost implies that there might be something like a back of a card.
There is.
Do we have anything that we want to share for that, or is that still kind of hush hush?
That's still kind of in the works. We are on the back of the card. It will have the same information in addition to it will display the dynamic stats that each player will have. So those would be the health, stamina, and morale. They will change based on how many times you use that player in a game, just how often that player is being used. It will also include any equipment that is equipped to the card. And then we have what we're calling slots on the back of the card. So these slots will have the skills that we are having, that they're rewarded through matches, or you can purchase them on the market. They're the skills. So we're actually having a lot of fun coming up with some of the skills that you can attach to the cards as well. It should
give us some examples, right? Like what do you mean by a skill, and how does that skill impact anything in the game, right? If I have a skill X, is it just a stat increase? Is it something that I use when I'm playing? Is it something that I haven't described? Like what's the function of a stat? And maybe one example that we could throw out there.
And Z, hop in, jump in anytime, but because we were having fun with these. So go ahead.
Sure. So the skills and abilities will be both active. There'll be both active and passive ones, right? And so passive ones would just activate when it would make sense, and active ones you would actually choose when to use them. And so we're still finalizing ideas. We have a whole bunch of ideas on a big board, but one of the ideas that I came up with, which I thought was fun, is stuff like this where we can really have fun with it and affect a few things, right? So one was a Maradona, right? So everyone's kind of familiar with a Maradona move if you're a soccer fan, right? And my proposal for it was, all right, it increases your chance for a successful dribble, of course, but it also, if the ball is tackled from you, it takes that player out of the play, meaning they won't be able to defend, right? Because usually, if you do a Maradona and lose the ball, now you're out of the play, right? So stuff like that, where these skills and abilities can have, a couple effects, right? And so, I think they're going to be really fun. And then we have fun ones, right? One we propose is bribe the ref, right? And bribing the ref increases your random chances, right? So we'll have, we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Rock on. So it sounds like there's two different ways to think about this, and I've heard slightly different nomenclature. I like separating them. So you kind of have passive skills, and those skills are things that impact kind of your core stats or core chances of something happening, just on any random event. And then it also sounds like you have some abilities that you can click on and activate. I almost think of that sort of like League of Legends, where you're this is the time that I'm purposely choosing to use this ability. So you kind of click that and activate it and make it turn on. Does that sound kind of correct, or did I misinterpret that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the active abilities will be like that, right? And so you'll choose when to play them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have these cards. Now, can you give me a sense of okay, so if there's active skills or active abilities and passive abilities, is there anything else that we're considering? I thought I saw something about equipment that was going to be part of this. How might equipment impact the cards, either the front or the back, and then how would they impact the gameplay?
So one thing I'm really excited about before equipment would be synergy, right? And so synergy is something we didn't touch on, and the synergy is there's a few ways to gain synergy, and we're still kind of finalizing a few of those. But one of them is how long the team has been together and the number of players in the team, right? And so one idea I had, and this is kind of really giving you guys some insider info, right? Because we haven't fully finalized this yet, so don't hold it to me. But one idea I had was for some of the players, and some of the players may have lower stats. People may be less interested in playing with them, right? And so what do? Well, if you stake those players, I think of like building a team is basically staking the players, right? If we stake those players to that team, right? The more players you have on a team, the more your synergy grows over time, right? And so like now we have a way to use some of those players, right? We're going to have them in the reserves of the team, right? And then that'll build up your synergy, and your synergy will increase your chances of success. And then equipment. I might pass this back to Alicia, but I believe the idea for equipment right now is largely cosmetic.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So in terms of that, we are still working through what that design would look like.
Now there's some speaking of some of the other cards, or thinking through some of the other cards, not only is there equipment, not only is there skills, but there's these coach cards too. Do you want to talk about what is a coach card and sort of how it might play into what we're doing?
Sure. So right now we have a design that we have 40 different coach cards. The coaches, there's a bit of a change from what might be in the white paper, but right now the coaches will be there to provide some boosts and buffs to the team as we work through future iterations and enhancements. We will start to add formations to the coach cards.
All right, so there's two things that are coming to mind. One is card combining, and then two, you just said formation. I'm not even sure I've ever heard the word formation on one of these town halls. So, Splinterland's pretty famous that, you might have to combine 400 cards to go get a max level one. Are we doing something similar with this? Sounded like, on the front of the card, there's an image for level or something like that. So how does that leveling and card combining mechanic work here? Is it similar?
So for card combining, there are 10 levels of combine per card. And what would happen is that if you're combining, you're going to take it, the higher card will become your card. The card that you have used to combine will get burned. Combining also unlocks higher max XP levels a card can achieve. So at 10 stars, a card can unlock 100 levels. And then you also hit on formations, Aggie. So we are for initial MVP launch, we are going to stick to one formation, which is, if you're familiar with soccer formations, and again, Z can talk a bit more about this and probably better than I can, but we are going to go with a 2-2-2 formation. But then
7v7. Yeah.
so there you go.
Yeah. Let's start.
But in the future, we will have more and build those in as future feature enhancements.
Yeah. So 7v7 sounds like that's less than a full soccer team that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so do you want to talk through that? And is that the only mode? Will we have other formations later, or what? How do you see that playing out, Z?
Yeah, sure. So 7v7 to start. And that's so as we're iterating through the prototype, we're just focused on making the game fun right now, right? And so like a 7v7 formation, the 2-2-2, it allowed us to play with some cool ideas in a simple manner, and that's where we're starting. And I think it's going to be really exciting. Like it's a real opportunity to then expand the game as we move on into like 11v11 and then different formations in 11v11. And so there's a lot of potential future development, right? But what we're focused on right now is getting the game out and making it fun, right? And so that's how we ended up at the 7v7 to begin.
Yeah.
And then do you think how many cards do you think will be on a team later? Is 7v7 the total number of cards? Are there, like, you talked about having more people on a team? So is there like reserve players? Are there substitutions that I make along the way?
Yeah, so we're thinking 7 players, 5 substitutes, and then 10 reserves per team to start. And so the number of players should never change as we go even if we move up to 11v11, it'll be the same idea, probably just fewer reserves, right? Where 10 reserves is a lot, but we want to have a 22 player teams, right? So this allows us to get to that 22 player teams. And like I said, the idea with the reserves is like, the more players you have on the team, the more synergy they build up. And when you add or remove a player, right, they come in at zero synergy. So if you keep a 22 player team together and you go to play a match, you'll be able to have 7 starters and 5 subs to play the match. You won't be able to play your 10 reserves during that match. But maybe the next match you go, hey, I want to swap out some of my reserves for some of my starters or my subs, and those players will have been building up synergy along with the team the entire time. So
Um, Now, last time I checked, we also had something that was that we were calling experience. Is that still making the cut for the MVP?
Honestly, yeah, I'd say, we'll beta.
All right. Well, that can be a little bit later of a decision. Okay. So somebody's asking. So you talked about 10 levels, but you didn't talk about 4 levels, 6 levels, 8 levels, and 10 levels. So how are we handling rarity in this? Are there different rarity cards, or are certain players a higher rarity, or how are we handling that?
We have, what did we say? We have it broken down by the different positions, because so if you take a look at goalkeeper, we have a lot less goalkeepers in comparison to some of the other players and the other positions that we have. So they are broken down. Actually, Matt and I were working on this earlier in the week. So that it will depend on position, the number of cards for each and rarity there. What else?
Just like, are there going to be legendary cards? Are the different athletes or the different coaches? Are there different, like, maybe it's not necessary. I guess rarity. Maybe it's not so much as like legendary versus common, but it's like, will cards have a different distribution or likelihood to get them based on either like position or something?
Yeah, based on position, and we'll also have gold foil cards.
Okay, so it sounds like there's foil type. Is there a concept of team? Like, I know that you as a player are going to get a franchise license and you'll make a team of players, but in like in Splinterlands there are splinters. In soccer there are actually teams like LA Galaxy or the Philadelphia Union. Does that play in at all? Are we going with cities? Are we going with or is that kind of not taken into account at this first stage? Or how do we handle even the concept of team?
sure, I could take that. Right. So going back to that concept of synergy I keep talking about, one of the things we had previously discussed was adding synergy. You would get a bonus of synergy if you played players from the same city, that play in the same city. And that may be something that we eventually do, but I think that where that ended up is kind of on the chopping block for this first phase, right? So we didn't consider it as totally necessary, and we don't want to be adding scope, right? We want to be getting to gameplay. So
Okay, so that it's not here now. Maybe it'll be here in the future, but that's not one of the keys that we need for an MVP.
exactly.
Okay, and then what about like the number of cards that I have to combine to get to a level 10 card? Is it one per level? Does it scale? Like, how do I max out my cards?
Right. So that is a great question, and that is not finalized. And right. So what we're gonna do is we have Matt. Matt is like really good at this stuff, and we're gonna lean on him a bit to help us come up with the distribution of cards and the number of cards that need to be combined, and that kind of stuff is going to be, a lot of those decisions are going to be made based on, trying to make a good economy, right? So
All right. So, we are still before release. Because we are still before release, we still have some of these things that are up in the air, or that we're still debating on whether or not they're going to make the final scope or not. And, everybody here should realize that we are pre even alpha of this game. So, some of these things that we're showing and that we're talking about, they might even change between now and the next time that we do a town hall and show you kind of the next layer of things here. um, I do want to get to showing the sort of like prototype that we've built, but is there anything else that you guys think that we should discuss before we kind of delve into the first prototype here?
let's show them the prototype. I'm really excited.
All right. So hearing that, so Mr. Ron, if you could help us by showcasing that exactly. And then, okay. So I guess Z, do you want to kind of, what the hell am I looking at? What is this? And before everybody freaks out, is the final design going to be pure text based, or do you think there will be some graphics put on this thing?
We were actually joking as we were getting ready for the town hall here. That's a real like Dragon Quest design, right? Like old school text-based RPG. But no, this is our prototype, so we can work through the gameplay rules, right? And so we can get a sense for, do the turns make sense? Are the turns, is it fun, right? Do the actions that we're allowing the user to make, is that fun? Is that engaging? Is it more than a coin flip, right? Like we don't want it to be, obviously there's always some chance, but if you have to play rock, paper, scissors 30 times, it's less fun than if we have some kind of skill involved, right? So that's what we're doing right now. We're prototyping the gameplay, right? And so like what it looks like doesn't matter at the moment, right? And obviously there's a lot of UI work to be done here, but that's not a concern at all at the moment, right? So, um, guys, don't freak out about how it looks right now, guys. That has nothing to do with anything. But what I can do is I can talk about gameplay a little bit, and I hope that you guys have like some great feedback, because we'd love to incorporate some feedback, right, and really see what the thoughts are so far, right. And so I'll try to run through it and explain it, and you guys can leave some messages in Discord, right. So what we're looking at, so we see our score up here, right. We see the turns left, right. And so the idea right now is we're going to have 30 turns, and we just see a text right here that lets you know like what happened last, right. We see a ball position here, right. And so the closer the ball goes this way, is for the player is always here, and the player is like the person who is looking at the screen right now, and this is their opponent, right. And so the closer the ball goes this way, the closer the player is to goal. The closer the ball goes this way, closer it is to the player's goal. And then we have some actions right here that you can take. And why do you see 3 players, right? We talked about 2-2-2, right? Well, this is kind of the concept, is that the player in the middle always has the ball. And so like right now we're just starting with the left midfielder having the ball, right? So the left midfielder has the ball. This is the right midfielder. So this is your 2-2 here. And this is your next line, right? So this is the left forward, right? And so what can this player do that has the ball? Well, right now, the idea is this player can try to dribble and beat this player, or they can pass, and this is like a forward pass, and they would forward pass to the left forward, or they could try to shoot. Anyone could try to shoot at any time. And the idea being that you just have to break the block of every player in your path, right? So the closer you are, obviously, the less blocks you have to break. And whatever player breaks the block in that line, that's who will end up with possession. And then the right midfielder would be a switch, right? And so how does pass and dribble or pass and switch work right now? Right now, the idea is that if you try to pass the ball, you have to break the block of the player in front of you, right? Because this is your defender. And you also have to break the interception of the player defending the player you want to pass. Where if you try to switch, since you're not actually trying to beat your defender, you only have to break the interception of the player that you're trying to switch to. Now, if you try to pass and the block stops you, then this player gains possession of the ball at the midfielder line. But if you tried to pass forward and let's say you broke the block, but this player intercepted it, it would actually be on the defensive line. So you would have moved the ball forward, but the other team now has the ball, right? And so let's play around, right? So if we try pass, so you can see, well, so that give you an idea what's going on there. So the other team is on a 5-second timer, and it just sometimes it happens really quickly, right? So this is just for play testing, right? So so now
So
you can
hold on.
see.
You said other player. So, I'm seeing this from my angle because I'm the guy with the ball and, Emmanuel has the ball now and I get these set of actions. Am I playing against a robot? Am I playing against a human in real time? Like what's happening on the other what am I playing against?
Yeah, great question. So, this is mocked to be another player right now, just making random decisions. But in the real game, obviously, you're going to connect to another player, and it will be a 1v1 versus the other player. And the player that has the ball is able to make decisions, right? So the player that has the ball has 5 seconds to make a decision, and the player that doesn't have the ball is not making decisions. The reason for that is we kind of played with that idea, right? Where maybe both players make decisions, the player that has the ball and the player that doesn't. And where we came back on it is for the player that doesn't have the ball, choosing to either try to tackle or intercept or block really felt like a coin flip. There's no there's no tell, right? If you play poker, right? There's no tell, right? So the player that doesn't have the ball, they're just guessing randomly at what they should do. And so that didn't feel very good, right? And so like the defense should just optimally do the right thing. Whereas the offense, they're the ones that get to decide when you have the ball, you're looking at the stats and you're going, hey, what is the best decision for my team right now? So I can see Reynoso has the ball right now. He has a 10 dribble versus Ladero, who only has a 5 tackle, right? So maybe I dribble, right? And see, yeah, so I did beat him, right? Now, this is a bug. Ignore this. This guy should have a defender. So when you get to this line, if you beat this guy, what should happen is that the midfielder, the right defender should cover the player that dribbled, and the left defender should cover this guy. And this guy would actually be a switch. And we're still working out some of these rules, right? Where you get to certain places and things are a little funny. But so then we can pass, and that was intercepted, right? And so we can keep playing the game. Eventually, we'll get a goal here. And we're still. Oh, there you go. So I shot and I scored. Right. So now the other team has the ball. It was blocked. So now I have the ball back. I can dribble. It was blocked. They have the ball. They dribbled. And then it was blocked. So it was blocked by the goalkeeper. So now the goalkeeper has the ball and they can pass out. It'll be either pass left or right here, right? And so the goalkeeper will have to break the intercept of these players. Right. So that pass was successful. Now it's on the defensive line. The ball is moved forward. Okay. Zimmerman has the ball. He tries to pass forward. Pass was successful. Now it's in the midfield line. The left midfielder has the ball. We could try to switch. We were able to switch, and now the right midfielder has the ball, and the right forward is the forward pass option. We could try to pass. That was blocked, right? Now it was intercepted right away by me. So it was blocked by them, but then they passed it at the midfield line. It broke the midfield block, but it was intercepted by the defense because they were trying to pass to the forward, and the defender was covering the forward. And then we can, the defender can even try to shoot, right? So if the defender tries to shoot, what happens is, well, now they have to break the block of the forward, who Vasquez has a very high block. Well, I know he's a good player, but, and then the midfielder, and then the defender, and then the goalie, right? So a defender can shoot; they just have a lot of people to beat, and that kind of decreases their chances, right?
So Walker had a block of like 5 and no, I'm sorry, he had like a shoot of 5 and the defender had like a block of 8. So does it mean that every single time they will successfully block, or is there still a chance, even though I have a lower stat, that I can get past my opponent?
Yeah, so there's some random chance involved. Now that is tweaking that and refining that and finding like the exact right kind of random chance is part of what we're doing right now. But there's definitely some random chance involved. So having a higher stat just makes it more likely, but certainly not absolutely necessary that you would win the duel.
So we talked some about skills too, and maybe the another term I've heard is abilities. So like on the screen, I see 4 abilities right now: dribble, pass, shoot, and switch. if I have like one of those abilities, would I see another option down there? It would be like spin kick or like power clear or bribe a ref. Like where does that live? Is it stuff that just happens in the background, or are those actions that I'm purposely choosing?
Right. So I think like bribe a ref is a good example for like a passive. I think bribe ref, it could actually be active too, but I think our current concept is that would be like a passive, like you come into the game with that and it increases your random chances for the entire game, right? That's just a passive. It just happens. But then like, like super pass or whatever, or I think a 1-2, right? So we had the idea of a 1-2. So 1-2 would be like, a 1-2 is like a give and go for people that like aren't soccer fans, right? But like in soccer, we call it a 1-2 or a wall passer. Um, so like a 1-2 would be like you're gonna make the switch. So that's all you have to break, and then you would pass it back to this player in the next line. So usually to go to the next line, you have to break a block and an intercept, and it would go to the midfielder. But if I played the 1-2 right here and I could pick that, that would be like an ability I could pick right here. I would only have to break the switch, which is only the intercept here. And then this player, the player that initially did it, would end up with the ball. If that check passed, this player would end up in the ball in the midfield line.
So are these things gonna? I'm not quite certain I understand. Am I going to have like, the abilities might be cards and I can choose from a set of cards that would live on one side of the screen? Or would that ability look like, the dribble box, but now it's a power kick option?
Right. So that's a great question. I mean, we haven't finalized the UI yet. I believe that whatever we come up with as the standard, and these are subject to change yet, or there may be some additions to them. I believe there will be. Um, as far as like maybe you can pass left or pass right in certain situations, but the base like choices will always be available, and then the active abilities that you can choose to activate will be in addition to, right? And whether we show them like directly on the player or in a box over here or on the card, that's not decided yet, right? So that's a UI design obstacle that we haven't crossed.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We're still like a little bit early with this. I don't know, Chicklet, anything you want to add about how this game plays and what you're thinking or what you're seeing with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things we want to do is try to make sure that this is fun. It's not boring, right? We will expand past 7v7. Um, we want to make sure that these active skills or abilities that we're allowing the player to choose or the user to choose during gameplay are exciting versus like they just get in, their percentage for shooting is higher, so again, and to Z's point too, right, we have a lot to work through the UI and the UX there of how this is all going to happen during gameplay. But our goal is to make sure that it is fun, it is usable. You can play this on a mobile device, and it doesn't feel like you're stuck because it's small versus on a desktop. So I'm excited to see where it's going. But again, you guys, you're our community. As we get through, we can share prototypes and we get to beta, and of course we'll take all feedback here today too. That's what we look for. And we want to make sure that we are getting the best game and experience out there that we can.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit. Where's the NXR's comment here? It should be done now. Start with a good start. Classic 11-11 with formations, normal formation for a football game. What football players will say when they see this, they will say pass, pass, pass. Don't know at all, confused now. I am disappointed. So one of the thoughts that I have, especially with like the 7-versus-7, we still want players to like come in, play the full game and get there. But one of the things that's really important is that like when you start in novice, you should have a lower barrier to entry. You should have it should cost less as you begin the game to have like fewer options here. But two, to get to like the fully expanded thing, you should have to have some level of like time commitment and amount of NFTs that you stake. It shouldn't just be automatic. The two parts of that are kind of gating it, and that's part of what gaming is. It's gating what you have access to, and two, it's about like lowering the cost of entry. So part of, I hear that first initial thought of like, it should be 11-11. That's how I played soccer growing up, and that's how the world works, and that's what it really ought to be.
I'd like to say too, Aggie. So even when we go to 11v11, right? The concept here is always it's a card game, right? And so the concept even at 11v11 would be what are the rules for a turn to bring in 2 or 3 players on each team? 2 to 5 players, I believe we discussed per team for that turn, right? So we wouldn't ever be bringing in the full 11, right? And so that's the kind of the concept of the game, and that's because that works well on mobile, it works well on desktop. It's a game that you can play quickly. You can do it in a few minutes. It's easy for everyone to digest. And so based on where the ball position is on the field, in 11v11, there may be different rules for which players interact with that turn and some of the actions that you can do. But the general concept would be the same, just expanded, right? And so that's why we started with 2v2. It's just the simplest way to prove that concept.
Okay. So I think we got through most of what we wanted to cover today. We have our roadmap. We have sort of a plan for how we build these things. We have some eye candy, and we have a prototype of how the game is going to be played. So, my biggest thoughts for this, for the town hall, is just making sure that people know, look, we're here building this. Like, project didn't stop. It didn't suddenly die. You guys bought $1 million worth of cards. We're still here. We're still doing it. And, honestly, I think it's looking good. And it looks like there's some neat gameplay that's going to be rolling out. Is there anything, I want to go open up to player questions and sort of answer some things here, but is there, I guess, closing thoughts for the town hall portion, Chatter, Chicklet, and Z? Do you guys have anything else that like we didn't get to that you think it's important that we talk about or address?
I see some players requesting that we keep it MS-DOS, so maybe, I don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, part of me is like super nostalgic for that. So I hear it. I understand why everybody wants it to look like awesome and have AAA graphics and all of that. But
right. At the bottom of every game, like this is the bottom of every game. Everything on top of it is just like flashy and looks cool. But like this is how game logic plays out. Still.
All right, Chicklet, anything in your brain, anything that we missed?
Nope.
Chatter?
Nothing too much to note. The one big thing, and I think I've said it to multiple people in the Discord here, but we did a whole kind of media day with all the MLSPA players that finished last week. So we're going to be holding off on doing a lot of the video posting until beta's ready. But once the game is ready to launch, we'll have a handful of players also helping us push the launch of the game, as well as kind of giving us some evergreen videos for ads and everything else there. So something to get excited about.
Sweet. I don't know if we have somebody to go type in the chat that now is an okay time for questions, but I think, Ron. Thank you, Ron. Oh, we have our pre-sorted questions. That's right. So let me hop into some of these questions, and then we can go into the next set. There's only one page of these things, so this shouldn't be too bad. Is it possible for the manager's license that we get for buying 100 packs in pre-sale to also be the way that beta access is granted? Both require 100 packs. This way, beta access is tradable whilst adding extra value to the manager's license. Thoughts on that, Chicklet?
I don't have a strong opinion either way. I mean, right. Why not?
We'll take it under consideration.
Yeah.
Gameplay. When can we have a detailed rundown on how playing the game works? Kind of like we did today. Is it just like So Rare? Are there more elements? Are you open to introducing a fun style of gameplay, perhaps similar to Score Hero games? I don't know of Score Hero. Z, are you familiar?
No, I'm not familiar with Score Hero. I'll check it out.
Yeah, we'll take a look. This game is like a little bit of a mix of reality and fantasy. So, there's no such thing as like a power slide tackle or a power kick. It's just humans that kick the ball. So we have some creative flexibility with this. You know, how much, how silly could you see this getting, Z? Is it, you know, Rocket League? Is it, you know, uh, like ridiculous, like it's the Onion or Babylon B equivalent of like making a game? Or where do you?
I think we want a healthy mix, right? And so like
Mhm.
we want to have some things, like I said earlier, like a 1-2, right? In that situation where like Glesnes was standing there and I forget the forward now, but the forward had a low intercept. Like if you see that, you know, hey, a 1-2 makes sense now. Like I could think like in like soccer terms about, but like we also want to have a bit of fun too, right? And so like having a bit of fun, where if it's like kick the shin or whatever, somebody said that earlier for Rondon, um, where maybe you try to lower the health of your opponent, right? Like, and that's like, it's fun, right? It's goofy. So we definitely want to have a bit of fun. Think like you know NBA Jam, right? Like you're still playing basketball, but it's a bit of fun. Like basketballs don't actually light on fire, but
Not generally.
yeah.
Uh, all right, let's go to marketing. Will the Major League Soccer organization be partaking in promoting the game or using their reach to help promote the market and market the game? If yes, when can we expect some promotions or marketing? Will MLS players be allowed to promote GLS and add more utility, i.e., a player has a closing range and items can be purchased with GLX?
Yeah. So the MLS side of things will need to get a whole bunch of licensing if we're going to do official MLS promotions. There are things like the Media Day, which I just kind of mentioned, where that was a collaboration between MLS and MLSPA. So in those kind of events, we'll actually get kind of buy-in from both sides there. But what we do have is MLSPA officially licensed for us, meaning that any single player can essentially help promote the game, sign cards, wear merch, so on and so forth there. We'll be doing a whole bunch of promotions every single year that this game's going on with them. So that'll be a recurring theme.
Can we get an OG Discord role for people who are here since the beginning and bought presale 1? Sadly, I don't qualify for All-Star yet, and this would be a nice treat for early birds also. I don't know, Chatter, Chicklet, do you guys have any feelings about granting everybody, OG status if they were here for the very first presale?
I'm not against it. We can
Yeah.
definitely just pull a quick little sweep here once presale 1 ends and just grant it to everyone in the Discord.
I think that's kind of neat. Okay, tokenomics. Will GLX ever be listed on exchange, or will it only remain on Hive? No, we'll get that listed at some point. It's not the very next step that we want to do, and it's not the highest priority. Like it will be a priority later, but games that do a lot of like the exchange and DeFi and all that stuff before there's even a game, like yeah, you can get prices to go up, but you also get dumps that can be pretty terrible for people. So rather than just have this thing be like pure hype, I'd like to be further in the development before we really put any effort into the exchange listing. Liam, do you have any different thoughts on that, or how do you view that?
I think that's pretty spot on with what I'm thinking too. I think once we get most of the big stuff delivered, then we can definitely work on getting everything else hooked up to Hive Engine, and then the bigger exchanges we can kind of work on simultaneously as well.
Yeah, the first step outside of that would be like a pancake swap or a sushi swap. Get some liquidity pools going there, and then after that, it's been trading and we see some volume and the price is a little bit stable. Then we can start looking at, okay, how do we get this thing listed and where will we list it? Card packs. How many different player cards will be in this edition? Number of players, multiple different foils, coaches, etc. Chicklet, you want to take a shot at that?
We have approximately 577 player cards. 40 of them will be coach cards. Well, yes, additional 40 coach cards. And then the player cards will consist of common and gold foil.
That's a lot of cards, right? Like,
well, that's the player. Yes, that's the number of players, which is reduced from what they're all of the players on the roster.
So what's the incentive to have more than one? I guess more than one team, right? Because so I could get 22 players and I could stop there and that's my full team. Or why would I want additional players beyond the ones that if I get up to 22, why would I want anybody else?
So I feel like I could give a good answer to that, right? So in Splinterlands, we have like the ERC, right, which is like account based. For this game, for GLG, we're gonna have each player has health and stamina, right? And so your teams may deplete, and right, but you can build up other teams, right? And so like you can build as many teams as you like, or we may have some limit on team. We've discussed this. We haven't finalized that yet. We may have some limit on number of teams eventually per account or something,
Yep.
but eventually, like over the day, uh, your one team will run out of health and like they will no longer be effective.
Health,
So their health
stamina, and then
recovers.
this also goes to the whole building synergy within your team. The more that they play together, the more synergy that they have too. So
Okay. Even though Gareth Bale retired just before the season started, perhaps we could still get him as one of the pre-sale promo cards. What about like older players? Can we are we ever going to be able to bring in the folks that are in the past?
So the players that we are using are from the 2023 roster currently. So, and that may change. We may see new players come in midway through the season when they open that up to new players coming into the MLS as well. But as far as older players, no.
That that's something that maybe we'll look at a later point, but we got our hands full just getting the current roster live in the game. So we have another question here. What time on January 24th does the pre-sale end?
Noon UTC.
Okay, and then nodes. The white paper specifies Splinterlands node holders will receive a portion of GLS nodes. Do we have any idea what this percentage will be and or when these nodes are available to start rewards? Yeah, we didn't really talk about the nodes and licenses at all for this. Is there anything that particularly Chicklet, are there things that we should talk about or bring up for this at this stage?
Not at this stage, no.
Have we abandoned the concept of licenses and nodes, or is this just something that we're gonna talk about later?
I think. Go ahead, Francis.
Yeah, I could provide a bit of excitement there at least. So it's not on the roadmap at the moment, right? Because we want to get the game out. We have these other things that we want to prioritize. But we are starting with the validator, right? That is eventually going to be, is what we're building for Splinterlands as well, right? To kind of be the public validator, right? And so we will be able to get there, pretty quickly when we start prioritizing that, right? And so we are building the game from scratch with that in mind.
Yeah, here's hoping it's not too far out. Like
Yeah.
the game is definitely a higher priority. Like even if you had the node, you can't like play or do much with it. It makes a lot more sense to have a game and then have a node. So I'm definitely in favor of putting the game before everything else. But the nodes shouldn't be too far behind it. There are people dedicated to just the nodes. They are working on this like goals, and this project is like high on that list. So I think it's still on the order of months. Building this whole nodes thing is basically building like an entire blockchain, and that is it's a lot of work. So that's not something that I think is going to be here tomorrow, but and I don't think that we've really done the white paper for exactly how the nodes will work. But we're going to draw heavily on what we did for Splinterlands, and then we'll have some percentage. I don't think it's going to be 100. My guess is that it's in the kind of like, I don't know, 5 to 10% range of nodes that will distribute. But don't hold me to that, because it could be less, it could be more. We just kind of have to go through this and see what we're feeling like. And also, another part of that would be time. We might do 1% all at once. We might do 5% over a long period of time. And some of that will be based off of community feedback and what we're planning there. But yeah, we definitely want to get nodes out. We want to get the validators out. And when that kind of stuff happens, my guess is that it's not the majority. It'll be a minority, and a small minority of the nodes will go out through through the distribution. And it's not in the next couple of weeks, but I think we'll shoot to get that out in the next couple of months here. Shout out, I just opened up a GLG pack bulk buy for the community. Any chance of a shout out during the town hall? Bulk buy ends on January 23rd. My DMs are open to discuss 20 pack minimums purchase to join. So you guys can talk to Skipples, $0075. That's not a player that I'm personally familiar with. So just with all bulk buys, be careful with who you're trading with. But if players are doing that and they're comfortable with Skipples, then doing it together, it definitely gets you the savings that you might hope for. So those are the kind of like community questions. It looks like we're going to have to do some of the. I think it's time to go just open it up to everybody. And it looks like some questions are already being asked. Maybe because I said we'll start answering questions. So I'm going to go back up. I see Dave McCoy here at 303. Will the 577 players and 40 coaches also come in both regular and gold foil? Are there any types of foils? I thought I remembered other foils at one point. So are we doing both foils for all the cards?
Yes.
And then are there any other foil types? I've heard diamond in the past. Are we still navigating that, or is that not something that's going to be in alpha?
Yeah. So initially there was the concept of having, I think it was red, green, orange, blue, a bunch of other different color foils. At the moment, we are not going to move forward with those other foils. They essentially represented the different synergies between the cards. And as we talked about earlier, when you have synergies and cards with the same color foils, they would build. But for right now, we're not going to run with that. So it will just be the common and gold.
Will there be a guaranteed higher rarity card in each pack? So like when you open up a Splinterlands pack, you're guaranteed a rare. Is there something like that in goals?
We actually have not discussed that yet. That's part of the working sessions that I've been having with Matt this week. So that's something that we'll make sure that we tackle.
What does the typical contents of a pack look like? Number of cards, roughly percent-wise. We guaranteed one player, for example. We have equipment and skills inside packs too, or is it just players always, or coaches?
So right now it's just players and coaches. 5 cards a pack. There were some discussions. Again, we need to finalize some of these discussions about what do potentially other packs look like.
A question, do you have an ETA of when the stable token GLUSD will be created from GLX?
No.
Yeah,
soon.
We're still working on that. Yes. The credits is next, and then GLUSD is on the not too distant radar.
Correct.
I think we kind of need to get through like at least this next sprint to know, how smoothly did the credit system go, and then where can we kind of slot in GLUSD. Mm-hmm. Do you feel comfortable that it will be in Q1, or do you think that's something that might slide into Q2?
I think Q1.
All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, as long as we can give sort of rough quarters, I imagine that's a good enough answer for most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully that's fair, guys. I was going to chime in there. So we are working on that, and we have a lot of work done towards it. And I'd love to say, it's going to be pre-sale to day one, but I don't want to promise something we're not going to give you guys. Right. So.
Yeah, and GLUSD, what we learned over years from Splinterlands is that the way that we set up this economy, we really need it so that the demand is initially driven to the stable coin, and then the value of the stable coin being used a lot or consumed a lot ends up being ported into the governance token. So, and just like we're sort of navigating all the things in Splinterlands to have a DEC requirement because we think that's the best way to sort of navigate the economy, the same kind of thing is likely to happen over here with GLUSD. All right. Kaz is asking, have you decided what currencies will be accepted for pre-sale 2 and the general sale? Will it only be GLUSD and GLGT? Will Fiat Hive still be accepted?
We are working toward, right, so with pre-sale 2, accepting GLGT. We are also working on getting credits implemented. Beyond that, we obviously GLUSD and other crypto as well.
Yeah, so it'll look more like the Splinterland system at that point, right? And so you'll buy credits with Hive and PayPal and other cryptocurrencies, and then you will make other purchases with your credits.
All right, Icy Flow is asking, are there injuries? And then, what we haven't talked about stadiums or anything else here, so maybe that's something that we should bring up again. But is there a concept of injuries either for the alpha or at some point in the game?
So right now there's the health dynamic stat, right? And that's what we'll probably do it through it first. Now, do we eventually have a specific dynamic injury stat? Potentially, but I think right now it's enough to say that something could happen that would reduce your health to 0, and that player would be unavailable until their health recovers.
Presale 1 is coming to an end, and presale 2 GLGT will be needed to get a discount on the purchase of the packages. When will GLGT be listed on Hive? That's the bridge to Hive Engine is what he's describing.
Z, what did we?
We're working on that too.
Yeah.
It's again the issue is just a lot of parallel things. So it's in the works and it's coming very soon, but I don't want to give any specific dates.
Do you think it's likely to hit in February?
I think that's fair to say it's likely. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would give that. I won't put these guys on the spot to make their predictions. I think it's like 80% yes for February. So if it falls back, it might hit in March. But this is one of the things that we want to get out there. So and we want it in part so that we can make sure that the pack sale is operating as we want it to. Because we're likely to if all this stuff isn't functioning the way that we said, we're likely to kind of like push back the date of the sale rather than change the terms of the sale. It would be better to just kind of push it back a little. So we'll see what that looks like. We're trying to get everything up and live in time, but it's going to be a challenge, and we have a lot that we're trying to bang out all at once. Any confirmation about GLX, GLU? Presumably that's GLUSD liquidity pool. Yeah, we'll get one up there on Hive Engine, but the bridge has to function first. At some point, especially as a game picks up more, we'll start getting liquidity into other places, particularly Pancake Swap or Sushi Swap is sort of like the main starting point. So that'll be a thing. Steve is asking, how does the economy work? Can we buy and sell within a marketplace, or you're still pointing people to Hive? What about PAX cards? Can we rent? Can we buy stadiums like plots?
Eventually.
Yeah. We have to have the cards first before we can like buy and sell them on the marketplace. So, the cards get generated, the marketplace starts functioning, the gameplay comes into existence, and then we start allowing the renting. And there has been this concept of stadiums, and I think that we're going to keep doing this concept of stadiums. I'm pretty excited for them, but a portion of the revenue that is going to go to players in this game is going to be going to the people that own the stadiums. So if you own a stadium, you'll be able to go get a portion of revenue. And our leading intention right now is that if we put up additional games, you're going to be able to say, I want this to be a soccer stadium, or I want this to be a football stadium, or I want this to be a racing stadium. And depending on where you kind of put your stadium or where you stake it, those will be some of the matches that you play. And you'll be able to rank up your stadium so that a higher ranking stadium can be used for like championship league matches. Whereas, if you're just playing in your backyard, that can't support like a champion game. So things like stadiums are coming. They're not completely spec'd. So what I just said is still to be determined, but I do want to give you guys some sense of what that looks like. What's your guess as how many packs will be needed in order to max out the set? Will that even be possible with the sheer amount of players available? Yeah, that with the number of 577 and you have to get to level 10, that's an awful lot of cards. Um, so I imagine, you'll be able to trade for a lot of the cards that you need to get down to like reasonable sets. But I think it sounds off the top of my head, sounds pretty expensive to go like get a full max MLSPA roster. Does that ring a bell, or does that ring true?
Yeah, yes. And again, that's Matt and I were talking about that earlier this week. And how do we design this in a way that it's, you're not going to have to purchase hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of packs to actually get a full roster that you're able to really work with.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of trading that I think will have to take place here. All right, question. If I have purchased 15 packs already on my own and want to join the group bulk buy, will I be granted beta access if I purchase the remaining 85 packs, since I won't be purchasing them on my account? No, it'll be based on your account if you're looking for the beta access. So you're going to want the 85 packs on your own. Akasha is saying, will nodes give out GLGT? That is not guaranteed, but my best bet is yes. Presale 2 will be on the new shop system, which will resemble Splinterland system, where credits will be accepted for payment and vouchers. So there's some feedback there for you, Cause. Question: will there be rewards card given through play? Are these soulbound cards? What are the NFT rewards you get for playing?
Yeah, so you will get NFT cards rewarded for playing are going to be the skills and abilities.
Skills and abilities. Okay, sweet. So those things impact gameplay pretty hard too. So that seems like there's some very strong incentives for playing. Is that your sense? Is that like a level up compared to getting additional monsters, or how do you see that?
Yeah, and especially one of the things that we were talking about in designing the skills was that there would be several levels to them. So you could get a common, a rare, an epic, or legendary. So I think that's incentive as well.
Should there be a leveling system for those too? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alicia, you think I could tell them what I want to do, or no?
Go for it. Absolutely.
All right. So we haven't decided. I still need to talk to Matt and see why he hates it. Because Matt always hates my ideas. I want to talk. I think it would be very cool if the skills and abilities all had limited uses, and the reason is because then we can not only can we control the economy a little better through gameplay, right, where we don't end up with a glut of skills and abilities, right, but we can also kind of like tweak the meta as we need to, right. So if we release a skill and ability that's too strong, obviously you own that skill or ability, right. We can't take it from you, but then maybe the next month we tweak it so that the new rewards of that skill or ability is a bit reduced, or maybe it's a bit improved, right? And so like I think that's a really cool concept.
I also like the idea of like, to get maximum usage out of it, you need to stake GLUSD on it, right?
Yeah.
So like if you can play it once in the game, so maybe it's consumable. I do get concerned with consumables because they might just be play to win at that, like pay to win at that point. But if there's like some level of you have to be staking these things too, that's going to drive a lot of people to get their GLUSD. The only source for GLUSD is burning GLX, and I think everybody should be excited about that opportunity. Some people are like, hey, I don't want to have to do this. That might be true, but then you're forgetting about the 99.999% of other players that are out there burning as well, and that makes quite a bit of difference. Will there be a soccer fest? Maybe it's goals fest. At some point, yes. I think we need a functioning game before we start thinking about, will there be like a group of players that can all meet in one spot for this? But that is something that I'd like to do and host. It might be like a day's tag on for a Splinterlands event, because a lot of the same people will already be out there, but we'll see what that looks like when we get a little further along. Skipples is asking, in the white paper gold foil cards were extremely powerful gameplay wise. Excuse me, because they were immune to weather effects. Since weather red blue foil cards are now scrapped, will gold foil cards give another gameplay benefit, or are they more similar to Splinterlands now?
TBD.
Yeah, there's still lots of like rule sets that we get to do.
Yeah.
So maybe there are some things where like the gold foil cards get some benefits. Generally, we like to have it so that the gold foil cards are, have the same utility for gameplay. But we can do things like tweak rewards or tweak benefits afterwards. That to me is pretty awesome. But we'll see what we do, and the team has a lot of flexibility with the decisions that they make.
Yeah, we kind of have a lot of levers to pull too. We just have to kind of look at the balance of it, right? And so like some fun things might be like they recover dynamic stats quicker or they improve synergy more, right? So like they're not directly affecting gameplay, but they're a bit of a bonus to gameplay.
Yeah,
right?
that's the stuff that I really like, because I don't want some like gold foil dude to come in and trounce somebody with regular cards. That's not fun, because that gets too much into like pay to win. But if your gold foil cards get you benefits that help you earn more rewards or be able to play more or do something that isn't just the same like as club a baby seal with a smaller or less expensive deck than yours, then that's the kind of stuff that I really like to see happen. So, I don't think it'll give you direct benefits in the game. But there are little things too, like, in Splinterlands, I've thought for a while that if you use like a gold foil version of a card, it should go before somebody that, if you happen to have a same level card versus an opponent at the same time, but yours is gold foil and theirs is not. I thought that the gold foil should go faster. So like maybe there's little tiebreakers where the tiebreak goes to the gold foil instead of a regular foil. But generally speaking, I don't think it should have major benefits in the game, because that's too much pay to win. Quantum Nachos, my favorite salty nacho. Since the game will start with 7-7 with reserves, will players be unable to play if they don't have enough reserves? Also, what's the general consensus for estimated total cards needed for casual play versus competitive end game with a single max team? We're still working on the like number of cards that you have to put into one player. So it's a little too early to share this, I think. Do you guys agree with that, or do you have thoughts?
I agree.
And if they don't have enough reserves, are they still able to play? Like, if I don't have any subs, what happens?
Yeah, so I could kind of comment, and again, we're still working on a lot of these things, right? So none of this is totally final. But the idea is that a full squad would earn more synergy, right? And so the number of players you have on a team would increase your rate of synergy. It would also allow you more flexibility, right? Because if you start to play the game and you realize that like, hey, in some situations, like having these different types of players are better than these other types of players, having reserves that are also building synergy with your team allows you that flexibility versus where if you just take a card that is in your collection but not on a team yet and you put them on the team, that particular card is going to be a zero synergy, right? And so that's a bit of a penalty to have not planned ahead. So you can definitely play with just 7 players on a team, but you'll definitely be limited by, the amount of synergy that you're gaining or the flexibility of your strategies.
I see a question down here at 321. Was this always going to be NBA Jam soccer style, or was that a recent shift?
So I could tell a story if you guys want to hear a very quick story.
Yeah, tell us a
Uh,
story.
Sure. So Alicia and me and Matt actually went into the office a few weeks ago, and we whiteboarded. We whiteboarded for the first time in a bit, right? Because a lot of people are virtual nowadays, and whiteboarding is fun. And I think sometime before lunch, we kind of ended up on because we were trying to come up with these abilities, and like finalizing some of these ideas and like how do we do this? How do we make it fun? And like somebody mentioned, I forget, I think Matt mentioned NBA Jam. And we're like, yeah. So that's really where it came from. It is actually kind of a new idea. So
Okay. Um, Let's see. Question from Jeff Opens Cards. Will coach cards derived from the top 10 players, top 10 pack buyers in pre-sale one be available in packs, airdrop promos of some kind in the future, or how are they distributed?
They will be available in packs.
That is a clean, direct answer. Life of Brian, can you please outline some marketing, advertising, and cross promotion from players?
Definitely. Yeah, shoot me a DM and I can give you like the full rundown, just 'cause I don't want to take up too much time here. But realistically, you have outbound and inbound channels. Inbound are more of the organic ones that we're not doing like paid marketing behind. So things like SEO, I have a crawler against a few hundred keywords right now that's essentially pinging me every single time that like a new listing comes up in those top like first page rankings. We're trying to hit all of those to get listings on their sites to start building some backlinks to our website. Also some more like transparency and visibility and discoverability on those kind of search engine result pages. On top of that, a whole bunch of PR pushes that's going to do backlinking for us. What all this does really in the grander scheme of things is help us build our SEO. That allows us to rank higher. So we're going to have a bit more discoverability there. Higher we get in the SEO, the lot more capabilities we can do on the organic side of things. And then on a lot of the outbound, we have ads already set up, Twitter, Google, Facebook, Snapchat, so on and so forth. Those are all prepped already. We are going to sub in a lot of the videos that are coming in from the players and the video shoot that we did with all the MLSPA players. So that will act as a ton of evergreen content for us. And then on what they're doing themselves too, is with those videos, they're going to be blasting them on their socials, linking to our website, so on and so forth, when we essentially say, hey, we want to start pushing this now. So that's banked for the full year. We can essentially wait until the end of 2023 until that expires. We can call in that favor essentially at any time. And then there's just a slew of other things that we'll be doing. But again, if you want the full rundown, shoot me a DM and we'll get at all that stuff.
Okay, we're getting down to the end here. Is there anything like ECR? How do we handle rate limiting in goals?
Z, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What was that?
How do we do ECR? How do we handle rate limiting for the number of games that you can play?
Yeah, so that's how when we're talking about the dynamic stats, right? So that is player based, right? And so the players have health, and that health will decrease as the number of games they play in a day, and it will recover over time. And so when the players run out of health, then that player becomes less efficient, less good at what they do, right? And so that will kind of rate limit things, and then the number of teams that a player can run at one time will also help rate limit, right? And so we're working on what's a smart way to limit player number of teams, or do you have to buy like another franchise license for that, or but the main way that's going to be handled is the dynamic stats.
So one of the things, this is totally a to be determined, and Chiclet's probably already grimacing. But one of the thoughts around kind of like, all right, your health goes down in a certain amount of time. If you're playing with a character with low health, that might lead to an injury. And so if you have an injured player, they can't play until their injury is healed. That injury would have to be healed at a player-owned stadium. So you would need something like either a first aid trainer or a doctor or something that would be able to go take a look at a player, help heal them, and you basically have to like stake them into a player-owned stadium for some time, and that player might do something like charge you a fee in order for you to get your injured player back. And some of that fee might actually have to be something like a GLUSD burn. So if you wanted if you wanted to get your player healed, you're going to have to spend some GLUSD. You could just wait forever, and eventually the character will heal. Or if you wanted to speed it up, you put them in the med bed. The med bed requires some DEC to go to the stadium owner, some DEC to be burnt, or not DEC, sorry, some GLUSD to be burnt. And this is how we all have nice things, because we'll be, taking GLUSD out of circulation, and ultimately that's coming from GLX by shrinking the amount of GLX that's out there. Dr. Blightfan here. Any thoughts on how the pre-sale promo cards will be unique or extra cool versus other cards, either gameplay wise or stats or player wise? What sort of players might they be?
Yeah, so we haven't gotten to those designs yet, whether visual designs or, what abilities they have. So that's one of the things on top of my list to get to next. I'm kind of excited to see what we can do here with these special promo cards.
Will MLS players be gifted some packs so that they can play against the fans? I think this is a yes. They have really strict requirements. Like you can't like gamble on your own games, but when it's like really made up stuff like this, they have a lot of leeway. So my intention is to give them free packs and hopefully get as many playing this game as possible so that you can go play against some of your favorite professional athletes. Let's see, at 328, any confirmed partnerships soon? I know that we're doing things with the MLSPA, but is there any other partnership that you want to announce for this yet?
Nothing huge that I can announce right now. We have a few things in the works, but things like our articles with Be in Crypto, we have 2 confirmed ones for Splinterlands that we're just waiting for them to essentially place right now. Those should be coming in the next couple of weeks. We're also going to get approval from them to be able to post stuff like GLG articles and everything there. But working on a few big ones, just can't announce anything there yet.
Okay. Well, we made it to the end of questions here. So this is not the last town hall that we'll ever do. We got a lot of stuff in development. We have some ideas that we're whiteboarding. We're doing this in conjunction with a bunch of the folks that are, more standard on the Splinterlands team, but they provide insight over here. You can see that we have creative development. We have like code development. We have some marketing that's going on. So my hope is that you guys understand that this game is very much in development. It's very much like in progress. We have a process, we have people, we have teams, we have all the things that we need to kind of crank this thing out. In the next couple of weeks here, you should see some nice improvements on the credit and the payment systems. We're trying to get live with the next with the second round of the pre-sale. So we appreciate you being part of the first pre-sale. We look forward to you being a part of the second pre-sale, using your GLG, the game time. And I don't know, I think that this thing is like a totally cool project, building this out, working with actual professional athletes and supporting like a whole product line and a whole tool set as we go. Any kind of final thoughts or anything that you wish that we got out there before we take a break and get back to work? I'm not hearing anything. So thank you very much to the team and all the work and time that you guys put in. Thanks to the early backers of this project and very excited for this. And, I look forward to working with you all and building this like sweet game. And it'll be even more interactive than what we're doing in the Splinterlands game and kind of pushing a lot of boundaries. And I think it's pretty fun. So thanks everybody. Thanks for a great stream and we'll get back to you before too long.